Welcome to Beerfield. I am your host, Chris Hopper at Beerfield Hop, joined by Dan Thury and at Ryan Miner _FFB. Gentlemen, good evening. So,
What's up?
it was Ryan's last episode, so we have a night full of surprises. But before I get into that, I was asked in the liquor store today to talk about if I would talk about a topic on the podcast. And I was like, okay, what's the topic? And they're like, homelessness. I'm like, okay. All right. Well, first off, I apologize to anybody that's super religious, but I'll talk about homelessness because I solved this on the drive to Indianapolis earlier this week. It's weird that this came up.
You solved homelessness?
I did solve homelessness. Got a couple numbers for
Wow.
you. Ready?
Impressive. Yep.
There are just over 500,000 homeless people in the United States, and there are 400 and some odd thousand tax-free churches in the United States. Every church sponsored a homeless person and a half. Homelessness would be solved. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. You must sponsor.
I don't know what they're going to do with the other
Sponsor-
half of their other half of the body, but
Sponsor a homeless person. Now let's make the Catholics sponsor too. Sponsor a homeless person.
we don't need more Catholics running around. That's the only problem.
Yeah.
We need less of them. So
Hey, I'm Catholic. I just don't go to church.
Sponsor a homeless person to keep your tax exempt status. My wife was raised Catholic. But anyway, that's
was my half my mom and dad's family.
half of everyone you know was probably
Yeah,
raised
yeah.
Catholic, honestly.
Yeah.
That's what I feel like. Yeah.
All right. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Now, moving on. So Ryan, your first gift for departing us, because this is your last show. You get to run the show.
It is.
This is your show, buddy. Take it over. Take it away. Congratulations.
All right.
We let Nick host his last show. I will host my last show. It's your turn.
Well, shit. It's almost like I already knew because I came prepared, man. So, I got the fucking popcorn ready.
Oh,
We're gonna have a
all right,
blast.
Tio.
How am I going to host my last show? Oh, God damn it. I have to do an extra one now. No.
No, I was going to do the extra one. No, we'll co-host it.
Yeah. No, I know.
I'll do the first half. You can do the second half.
And by
We did
co-host
that
means
for a
it's
year.
gonna be like 20 of us on stream. It's gonna
Right.
be a fucking shit show.
Yeah,
The host
it's gonna be a
is
Spider-Gram.
there is no host. So
I don't have the soundboard over here though, so I can't.
you
hit
don't, you
buttons
don't have
with
to. We did this with Nick all the time. You just have to lead me in and say what you want to do, and then I'll hit the drop.
Yeah. It's really easy.
All right, guys. What are we drinking tonight? Chris, drop, please.
What's fueling Beerfield?
See what this is. Perfect.
I was kind of waiting to see if you were actually going to tell people what the episode was about, but
We're gonna jump. Nope. We'll do that out. This is Ryan's show. He can do whatever he wants.
Yeah, let's tell them what we're drinking first, and then we'll tell what the show is.
That's well, who gets to go, Ryan?
Dan, you go first.
Okay. To continue the Sun King train, because of me now selling Sun King in very small parts of Illinois, I have Pachanga on. Pachanga is their year-round Mexican lager. I think it clocks in at like 4.8%. It's really cold. I just took it out of the fridge. Yeah. That's it.
Pachanga's almost like Bazanga from Big Bang Theory.
Bazinga.
or Topanga.
Topanga, yeah.
Topanga.
Goddamn. Why did I think of that?
Banga!
Chris, what you got tonight?
All right, so I said that I was late for you, and I was, because unlike Dan, I actually care about your last episode. He didn't think like what beer to celebrate you with or anything like that, even 10 minutes beforehand, like I did. He just grabbed whatever he had in his fridge. Guarantee it. I have, just for you,
IPA.
because I have not had anything on of this style for your entire tenure on the show, and probably any show before that, and probably won't again over the next 16. I have Dogfish Head's 90-minute Imperial IPA. I was like, what,
Oh, that's a good one.
What would Ryan find special? I'm like, oh, an Imperial IPA. That's special for Ryan. So 90-minute Imperial IPA from Dogfish Head. Imperial IPA is higher ABV, so this one checks in at 9%. And 90-minute equals 90-minute boil, so you can do some more fun things with hops and get better conversion out of it. Ryan, what do you got?
I have Equilibrium Brewery's Rock Fantasy. It's a double India Pale Ale coming in at 7.5%. I just like it for the can art too because it's Rock Fantasy.
I think they're out of New York.
Yes.
Equilibrium. Yeah. We've got
Yep.
them every
Little
once
Town, New
in
York.
every once in like 2 blue moons. We'll see them around this area.
It's a good time
Illinois.
to talk the difference between an Imperial IPA and a double IPA.
I mean, sure.
Because there's a lot of
Yeah,
different
let's do it.
takes on IPAs. And so we'll give you a little IPA corner here. So Imperial IPA, double IPA, and I'll throw double dry hopped IPA in there too. Because there's amongst
There's
people new
3
to this,
differences.
there's a
Yeah.
lot of confusion there. So kind of triangulation. Dan, help me fill in whatever I miss here. Because
Yep.
I won't be perfect with this. Imperial IPA, similar IBUs, similar malt character, higher alcohol. Double IPA, also slightly higher alcohol, but not quite as high as an Imperial IPA, but higher than a standard IPA, higher IBU. Double dry hopped IPA is dry hops typically add aroma, so they've usually had a couple rounds of dry hopping done to them, which are more aromatic. So Imperial IPA is going to be a little bit maltier, a little bit more floral from the alcohol content, a little bit stronger, but not quite as bitter as a double IPA or as aromatic as a double dry hopped IPA. Also, ABV on a double dry hopped IPA is that of a standard IPA. Missing anything?
Because if you don't know, hops doesn't add alcohol content.
It's true.
It's for certain people that used to be my boss at certain places that told customers this. Hops do not add alcohol. That's why you have hop water.
Hmm.
That's it's not even booze. It's not even an NA because it's just water with hops involved.
Hops
That's
give you
literally it.
They give you 3 things: flavor, aromatics, and bitterness.
If you want even more, and that was a very good explanation of all 3. If you want an even more dumbed down version, Imperial is just a stronger version. It's just it's not double, it's not triple. There's no real numeric number to it. Like double is effectively you're doubling your recipe to an extent.
Yep.
And then double dry hopping is you're just wasting a bunch of hops to get more aroma because all double dry hopping is throwing you're just throwing your money
It's throwing
into
more hops into the fermenter.
you're just throwing more money away. Actually, that's why hops are so fucking expensive. 'Cause
aroma.
You're just wasting hops.
Indeed. All right,
Ugh.
Ryan, back to you.
All right. So as we said, this is my final episode. I'm not leaving forever though, guys. I'll be back for the one final episode.
We know.
But I'm going on my own adventure. I don't know if I've even told you guys, but I'm going to be doing a auction theme, salary cap type theme podcast because that's what my true passion has always been is auction leagues.
Hell
So I'll be
Yeah.
kicking that off here next month. So I'm looking forward to doing that. But no more sad stories. Let's have some fun, guys. We're here tonight for a mock draft, right?
We
That's
are.
right.
Hey, we're going to talk about it.
we mocking.
Are we going to talk about the one news item at all, or are we just not going to do that?
We don't need to do news.
Okay.
Yeah, news is not fun. I mean, what the news you want to do?
I'm sorry, Ryan's in charge. That's my fault.
The only
Sorry.
only one I was thinking of was the Rashi Rice incident, which
Oh yeah,
tacks on
like how it's
to
flipping back and forth.
his other incidents, and now you potentially do have some suspension concerns. You did before, but even more so going into the season. That was the only thing that I saw that I thought was worth mentioning. Also, roaster Tom Brady was excellent.
3 fucking hours,
Oh
man.
my god,
I
Jesus
I made it to an
Christ.
hour of it.
Does not need to be 3 hours.
I made it through 20 minutes of it because we tried to watch it at 3 o'clock in the morning after a night of riding lime scooters around Indy and drinking, and it didn't work. I just fell asleep.
I was like, cool, this is an hour. This is always an hour. It's an hour long show.
It's 3 hours
Comedy
and 4
Central.
minutes.
This is perfect. It's 3 fucking hours. I'm like, no.
the full
Like, I don't want to listen to 3 hours of Kevin Hart. Just fucking kill me now.
And I had bashed my head off a trash can earlier.
I'll probably get through it at some point, but that's brutal.
Who will too?
There's still 2 hours left to go in it, so
Here's what it
Yeah, 1 hour
reminded me. Here's what it reminded me of, Dan. Remember the time you were here and I'm like, do you want to watch an Eagles Trail? And then I fell asleep 10 minutes after sitting on the couch. But I was so adamant I wanted to watch it.
Yeah, it was so good.
Same exact thing.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
All right, Ryan, here you go.
All right. Let's
Fantasy
kick off
mock
the
draft.
Hey, guys, look! It's the real Buzz Lightyear!
You're mocking me, aren't you?
Mocking
Oh,
you.
no.
God, what a great drop.
Old school drops.
It is.
All right, tell us the format. How are we picking? Figure it out on the fly.
All right. Let's do a quick 4 rounds. Each of us will have 3 picks. So wait, no. Yeah.
4 rounds,
6,
3
9.
picks.
Four-
Four
yeah,
picks.
48
four
picks.
Yeah, 4 picks. In each
Super
round.
flex, 1 QB. Hopefully super. Please
Let's
do
do super flex.
Thank
We'll do
God.
super flex.
It would be
That,
so
you know,
hard to do
with
a
the-
4-round non
It's gonna
one
be
QB
it's gonna
mock
be tough
draft
for
at this
4
class.
rounds, but yeah,
All right, let's do 3 rounds then. Screw it. We'll do 3 rounds.
This is not
36.
not a deep draft class, guys.
That's
All
a
right,
good
3
one.
rounds it is. Yeah.
3 rounds, 4 picks. What's the order?
Picking up between 1 and 7.
5.
2.
All right, Chris. You pick what slot do you want? 1, 2, or 3?
I want 1 because I actually have a similar scenario in the league, so I'll take 1.
Dan? You
I'll
get the 3
take-
spot.
I'll take 3.
There you go. See, I even said it for you.
I was
I
gonna
got
be
this
like, well, whatever you want me to do. I really don't
No,
care.
we're gonna have some fun with this.
Okay.
All right, and it's gonna be tight end premium. So let's try that. See how high.
Bowers.
Tight
Anyone
end
goes here.
premium. Okay. So hold on. Super flex. Tight end premium.
Full PPR.
Full
Yeah,
PPR
yeah,
always.
I'm kidding. I don't care. I don't care.
PPR. Yeah, right. I don't think it matters that much. It's Hopper.
IDP. No.
No.
Oh.
God, no.
All right.
Hopper, Ryan, Dan. Okay. Go ahead.
All right. Oh yeah, I should probably write that order down because I will forget here in a minute.
Well, I mean, gotta be able to track who's been taken. So I'm
What?
probably gonna write down who's being drafted.
Yeah, that's what I'm over here typing out. I don't know if you can hear the keyboard, but that's what I'm over here mashing
Yeah.
on the keyboard for.
Same
All right.
here.
All right. Well, 101 in this is pretty straightforward to me. I don't know that a rookie. Sorry, am I on the clock?
Yeah, you're on the clock.
101 in this is pretty straightforward to me. I don't know that a rookie quarterback has landed in a better situation, both short term and long term, right out of the gate. It's not a homer pick. It just is how it is in Superflex. So it's Caleb Williams for me, and I don't think we got to spend a lot of time on that or that debate. There's really nobody else in consideration for me at that pick, given
Nope.
the year one weapons and the ceiling that he has, and the fact that the Bears are just drafting him as they enter a window.
All right. I love it. Love it. All right. I'm going to change it up here a little bit because I always feel like everyone wants to go this certain player, but I'm going to go the other way just because, yeah, he's good and he did really good last year. And people will probably say, well, you shouldn't do that because, you're a pass up elite prospect. But I'm going with Jaden Daniels here at the 102.
Boom.
That's the right call, in my opinion.
The
Same.
rushing upside, the passing upside, and now he's actually has Terry McLaurin. He just also got Ben Sinnott drafted there in the second round. So they're putting weapons around him. They're building a good nucleus around him. With the signing of Austin Eckler.
Mm-hmm.
So I like where this team could possibly go, and getting him now at this point, I can see him as like a high end QB2 with QB1 upside with from the rushing alone.
He's got weekly QB1 upside.
Yeah, it does.
Like he has a high rushing floor. Like that's easy. Mine's simple, obviously. I'm gonna go with the best wide receiver landing spot. I'm gonna go with Marvin Harrison. Third, Arizona. My favorite for fantasy. It's not my favorite landing spot. That'll be get to that one later, but if I get to pick, walks into a improving and up and coming offense, a year removed from his injury with Kyler, even longer year removed with Kyler, near to Michael Wilson to kind of help. And then, Trey McBride also, gotta love what's happening there. And MA Street just steps into a true alpha role with no real legit competition.
Mm-hmm. All right, 4th round pick. I'm gonna flip this a little bit. I think
A 4th round pick?
no,
Wow,
number 4 pick. Sorry, 4th
It's
overall
a bit
pick.
of a reach.
I'm gonna flip this a little bit from what I think consensus has been. I know that, but I think that this is shifting anyway. I'm gonna go straight back to the Bears. I'm gonna go with Roma Dunze.
Yeah.
I know Neighbors.
I'm trying to predict picks as they come.
I know Neighbors is also in play here, but Rome again lands in a better spot with a better nucleus. I think a more stable infrastructure. There's competition for targets, especially the first couple of years, but I love the longevity of route runners as well. And as soon as, watching his film and then seeing Harmon put out that, he was green everywhere on reception perception, that's my type of receiver. You give me an alpha that can run routes, that's going to be tutored by Keenan Allen, who's an alpha that can run routes. And the longevity of that pick, I absolutely love that. And I do think that there's a certain amount of upside there, especially with volume in today's NFL. So you might have to see Keenan Allen, leave town either at the end of the season or maybe the next year or 2 years, depending on retirement, things like that. But I think Rome's set up nicely. And he should be the 2 by the end of the year.
I like that, like the way you said it too, because a lot of people are like, why would you take him right now? But you definitely cleared that up as exactly saying like what you can see him doing, because it's not year 1, year 2. It's more like longevity over it, because Keenan Allen's not going to be there much longer. We don't know what's going to happen to DJ Moore, how long he's going to be there for. So I love that pick. And taking him that high, taking him as the wide receiver too.
Yep.
Definitely made the 105 a lot easier here. And for me, I'm going with Malik Neighbors. Yes, it's the Giants. Yes, it's Daniel Jones. But at the same time, Daniel Jones hasn't really had a true wide receiver. He's been injured quite a bit. And giving him Neighbors kind of gives him a better position. And sure, there's still quarterbacks on the board. But if you look at it, only 8 quarterbacks have actually been successful in the first round the last 15 years out of the 46 that were drafted. So 8 out of 46, that's not a good number.
Yeah.
And then, what were we going to say?
No, go ahead. And then I just wanted to throw a bow on kind of what we just did through the first 5 picks to finish up your analysis on your pick.
And then with what we don't know with Darren Waller, this team has a lot of open ends on the receiving end of it. So giving Daniel Jones a true wide receiver 1, and also with the Giants not selecting any quarterbacks at all, which wasn't really left that much after the first 6 were taken. I like his upside overall as being easily seeing 160 targets in this offense.
Now, and you guys can jump in here if you think differently, but what we just saw through the first 5 picks in some order is likely the first 5 picks, and now your draft is actually going to start.
I think the first 8 picks are very much chalk.
All right, let's keep going through. Let's keep going through 8 then. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
because 1 through 8 can pretty much be seamless. Doesn't matter if it's 10 in premium or not. I'm taking Brock Bowers here. I think Bowers would have been in play actually at pick 4 with premium. I don't care about the Raiders landing spot. I don't care about Michael Mayer. I don't care about the offense that's been instilled there. I mean, I do a little bit, but it's Bowers is a special talent, and the way that if you can get a creative, any sort of creative offense can utilize Bowers in such incredible ways, and I just feel like this is the perfect kind of spot to take that risk. May McCarthy, which would probably be the next 2 popular picks here. We're also in play here as well, but I have no issue grabbing my receiver 1 and the tight end 1 to kind of fill out these 2 picks.
Sure. With tight end premium, that's interesting because I given the way early tight ends have gone, even though Bowers is a special talent. I mean, every tight end that goes in the first round is a special talent, but given the way early tight ends have gone, excluding last year where it was just a barn burner of a tight end class, and I think this year has some things to like. I could see myself waiting another pick or 2 on that, but people won't. So I think that's totally fine for you there, especially in premium to get the top of that tier. Now, pick 7 and 8. So I'm gonna go Drake May at pick 7. You're absolutely right. McCarthy is in consideration here, and there's really two things you're balancing there between those two picks for myself. It's the rushing upside and the arm talent of May without any infrastructure, really a ton of things around him right yet on a team that's going to try to build around him, versus McCarthy, who also comes into a little bit more of a similar of a solidified situation with a couple good or with 3 really good weapons on offense and replacing Cousins. You're really looking at long-term upside. I like May. Immediate impact, I like McCarthy. And for me, I'm gonna lean more rush, a little bit more rushing floor, and in my opinion, a little bit more long-term upside with May. But if you feel differently, I don't think there's any problem going McCarthy at this spot either.
Sorry. I was chewing. Here's a point where I'd want to trade out if I could in a draft at this point, because I know this many people, like seeing this quarterback here, seeing JJ McCarthy, which is who I'm going to pick. I would be willing to trade out of this pick just because I just don't have the faith in him to actually pull out like a lot of people think he can do. Yeah, he's good. Yeah, he has the capabilities, but the many times I've seen him play, I just don't feel that great. I think it's going to be a longer process than most think. But with that being said, 108, I'm going JJ McCarthy. Just because I have to at this point, because it's the best quarterback available. He's the one that has the highest upside, but also has a lot of downside. He could have bust potential. But when you're throwing a Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ Hockenson, and then also handing off to Aaron Jones, I mean, it's kind of hard to pass that up right now.
Yeah.
And then, seeing that he's throwing, his floor, like you see him throw, if you've looked at any of his games, like there's games he threw for under 100 yards. And if they have him just hand off, I mean, this is going to be a perfect type of offense to hand off in, because you got to go to offensive line. You have Aaron Jones, but you don't get points for hands offs. And it's just hard for me to swallow this.
I'm just super glad that he left a run first offense to join a modern offense that wants to utilize his skill set. This is great. I'm so happy. So happy he doesn't have to hand the football off to Blake Corum 25 fucking 100 times.
Enjoy leading the league. I almost wanted to say just enjoy leading the league in sacks.
You mean Jaden McDaniel? You mean Jaden Daniels, who had a significantly higher sack rate than every quarterback in this class?
Yeah, but we're gonna say welcome. We're gonna say welcome to the NFL, rookie.
Yeah, I mean, all of them. I think all these guys, besides I think Penix, who won't see the field, I think has a exceptionally high sack rate. But that's common.
The game we live in.
Or Knicks too, because all Knicks had to do is get the ball off in 1 second. So I think this is where the draft starts. I think pick 9 is typically where you see a lot of, Brooks in play, Worthy in play, Thomas in play. I've seen Knicks in this spot, depending on a QB needy team. Again, if you're doing a rookie draft in March or in May, please, for the love of God, don't draft for need. Just draft best player available. You have multiple months to figure out your roster. It's not that hard. I'm gonna go with the guy that I picked in a similar spot here too. It's gonna be Xavier Worthy. It's always been torn between him and Thomas, right? I go back and forth. It's literally 1A, 1B. Like, I guess between those two, like they're just basically one and the same. It's just I have a little more faith in the Chiefs' offense of being able to maximize Xavier Worthy's skill set. I think Worthy, it's a bit more of a risk than Thomas. Worthy is more of, I think, what scares a lot of us because he ran the ball fast at the 40, and they typically get typecast into a specific role in the NFL. But even if he gets typecast, he gets to be paired up with Mahomes, with Andy Reid, the aging Kelsey, a very much in legal trouble Rashee Rice, and literally nothing else there to block him. I think it's going to be Worthy may be that guy to start his career as a third level guy. but he could be thrusted into more of a true one role if Rice is to miss multiple games, or if the Kelsey fall off starts to actually happen. So I think Worthy's in line. His range of outcomes is all over the place, but I think he's got an incredible ceiling, and everything, kind of falls right, in the right way for him.
Well, first snipe just happened because I was looking heavily at Worthy here as well for what you just said. The one thing I want to add, you mentioned, potential to get typecast and what he has around him, but the Chiefs showed very much that they want to use that type of receiver, and that was missing in the offense.
They proved it with Hill, like
a deep threat. Well, they proved it with the number of guys they tried to force into that role last year that didn't have the hands
right? Yeah.
to do it with MVS, and then getting Mecole Hardman back, and we saw flashes of Justin Watson playing that role, and they desperately needed that field stretcher that can grab a deep ball to really have that explosive Chiefs offense that we've been used to, and that's Xavier Worthy's hands are better than any guy I just mentioned there. Well, maybe not Justin Watson. His hands are actually pretty good, but he's more athletic. So, I love that pick there, and I'm going to go with the guy you didn't take, and I'm going to go with Brian Thomas. And again, this is another situation where, with Kirk and with Evan Ingram, the pressure should be off of him to not just see top coverage all the time. But the Jags needed a one desperately for Trevor Lawrence. They're a team that should be in a window. They're a team that, lacked really that alpha receiver. Dude's a big body, works outside well. He's going to complement Kirk and Ingram nicely in that offense. And, I do think there's long-term upside there as well. It's a different play than what Worthy is, but, I think that's your tier right there, essentially, for wide receivers in this range.
Very good one.
On to Ryan.
All right. So, like Dan said, you don't draft for need, you draft best player available right now, because a lot of things have changed between then and now. And here with the 111, I'm gonna go with Ladd McConkey. I could have went many ways with that. I could have went with Bo Nix, but
Your best player available with Ladd McConkey.
Yes, absolutely. BPA, the Ladd McConkey, man. I mean, you look at this point in the draft, we're getting to the end of the first. It's starting to dwindle down where players are starting to mix in. But also, you got to remember, McConkey was one of the first picks taken in the second round. Actually, he was the 34th pick, so he's the second pick overall taken in the second round. And this whole Chargers offense is going to look different now. Justin Herbert has no more Keenan Allen, no more Wake Williams, no more Austin Eckler. So that's about 2,000 yards that are gone now. So let's see.
It's going to Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins.
Yeah, exactly. And hopefully,
and DJ Chark. And now DJ Chark.
Oh, yeah, DJ Chark.
He signed their 1-year deal.
I mean, Ladd McConkey, he didn't have much activity, because the Georgia game didn't really show him a lot of passing. But when he did have the ball in his hands, he could definitely do very well with it. He has the athleticism. He gives a nice weapon to the revamped offense that's going to actually fill well in the slot, and he can actually pop outside if he actually needs to. And I feel like where this landing spot in general, being as a Charger, he could actually be one of the best wide receivers in this class outside of the top three.
Okay.
On
to you, Dan. Or go ahead.
I mean, yeah, I'm moving. Yeah, I'm not as high as on Ladd as most others.
Several people I probably would have went with,
but the Ladd love in there, the landing spot, there's a lot of opportunity that's there. As Ryan pointed out, there's a bunch of the high volume players have left in this new identity, right? Like this whole Chargers offense can just be turned up on its head. It could be Quentin Johnston can actually improve year two, like who knows? But my next pick for the 112 to round out the first round, I thought Ryan would have took him here. I'm glad he didn't, because I'm glad to take him. I'll take Jonathan Brooks.
Yeah.
Fantastic. It's a good landing spot here with Carolina. It's not the best offense in the league. He's going to have to deal with probably early carries from, Chuba Hubbard as Brooks gets a little more acclimated to the NFL, into the NFL speed as he gets his legs under him, and as he continues to recover from his ACL tear. Historically, players can get off to slow, inefficient starts while recovering from that. Throw in that he's a rookie, it might be a slower start to him, but out of all the rookie running backs in this class, he's probably the only one that's got a true 3-down set. He's probably the only one that could see a true workhorse role in his career. Whether or not his body can handle it, we'll see. It's not look great, 1 year of doing that and then gets hurt. But the Panthers doesn't have much in terms of behind him. Hubbard, they brought in Rashad Penny. Historically, Hopper's favorite running back, Rashad Penny.
Gross.
So I can totally see Brooks having this backfield, majority of this backfield by mid-season, and being a weekly winner shortly after that. So
Yeah.
Upside, good floor.
It's about where I'd expect to see Brooks go too. I think. But look at the first round, and to remind people, Williams, Daniels, Harrison, Odunze, Neighbors, Bowers, Drake May, JJ McCarthy, Worthy, Brian Thomas Jr., Ladd McConkey, Jonathan Brooks. It's about what you'd expect if you were setting up with league size here. I think McConkey is the only one that might be a little surprising to me, and I don't think you're out of range given the opportunity there. I think that there's 2 to 4 guys I'd maybe like ahead of him in the wide receiver class. But if you believe in him, this is where, we normally say back of the second, back of the second's where you're going to start taking dart throws, but normally you have more of a running back class. So, you're picking a guy that you believe in out of this tier of wide receiver. Any other thoughts for you guys in the first round?
Pretty much chalk.
Yeah,
if
take
it's,
the words out of my mouth.
yeah, if it's not Ladd, then it's Parasol. If it's not Parasol or Ladd, then
Then
Nix could be in this range.
Nix, could be Leggett, could be Polk.
You get your
Yeah.
second running back. I've seen him. Benson's right around this range. I think he typically starts at the end of the first and goes between that and like early second. Like there's a lot of range that starts to take place after the top 8 goes, and really even after Worley Thomas. It just depends on if you dislike one of Worthy or Thomas a little more than the other. I've seen guys like McConkey, I've seen Parasol, I've seen Brooks, seen even Benson and even Nix go ahead of those guys. So I think, as I said, the draft typically starts about pick 9 for a lot of people.
All right. Okay. So moving around to the top of the second round now. So my 0-1 team, this is where draft strategy starts to come into play a little bit. I don't need 2 quarterbacks. So, we talk not position to need, not best player available. The one that you take best player available, not position to need. Well, when best player available becomes a bit debatable, then you can use that as position to need as a tiebreaker.
Exactly.
That's where we're at. So you mentioned Trey Benson. He's in play here. I don't necessarily love the pedigree. Tight end premium, so may start thinking Sanat here. I think that maybe that's still a couple too early. So I'm the wide receiver heaviness is going to continue, and what I'm looking at here as we talk through this, so I'm going to share strategy because this is a learning experience, right? So I'm looking at, we just talked about Pearsall in San Francisco with Debo and Ayuk trying to get out. Ayuk last year of his contract, through succession plan there, hyper athletic guy with the size enough to play the outside, and Pearsall never had over 1,000-yard season in college, but did improve every year. Xavier Leggett, also hyper athletic, around the same age, lands in Carolina, where they desperately need receiver help in whatever form that they can get it. Keon Coleman in Buffalo, another need. And again, this is all somewhat the Ladd McConkey argument. Coleman, not quite the athletic profile of a Leggett or a Pearsall. And then Jalen Polk landing with the Patriots, who also clearly have a big wide receiver need with Drake May. For me, the route I think I want to go here is probably gonna go Ricky Pearsall here. I think I'm gonna go Pearsall, and it's because I trust the infrastructure there to find a way to use his athletic profile and his talent, and I wouldn't be surprised if one of Debo or Ayuk, if not this year, is definitely out of town next year, and that's a succession planning type thing that's in place, and you're looking for flashes. So it's not a year one play, but it's liking the offense, liking the infrastructure, and liking the upside there. Again, 3 or 4 guys that could have been in play there from wide receiver, as well as a tight end, as well as a running back for the draft starts. Personally, Pearsall checks a lot of things I like. So, particularly athletically. That's the route I'm going.
And I like it too because, like you said, with Pearsall going there, it throws a lot of questions up. What's going on with Brandon Ayuk? And what people don't understand is Brandon Ayuk is actually a free agent after this season.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said about Debo, possibly being traded. To trade him, it's quite a bit of money. And this year, it's a $28.6 million cap hit, along with a $42.7 million dead cap if they release him or anything else. So the actual true out for him is actually this next year. So this whole offense could be looking different in the 2025 season compared to 2024. And like you said, and when you're at this point, you're at the 201, there's a reason why you have the 201, because you have the 101. So you're a rebuilding team. You're trying to build for the future. You're trying to build up.
Yeah.
And with that being said, you pretty much took it like other topics out. I'll talk about the upcoming players. So here, as we were talking about, we're going best player available. I already took Jaden Daniels at the 102. Bo Nix is on the board. And I'm not a huge fan of that offense in general, just because it seems like a mismatch. Yeah, it's just a mismatch.
It feels so gross.
It just feels dirty. Like
it absolutely does.
It's almost like your parents like catching you with porn. It's like, oh, it's bad. So that being said, I'm going with Trey Benson here. And when I say that as the 202, this is saying if I didn't trade anything, like, none of us ever traded our picks. Like, we held our picks the whole entire time.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the 2025 season at this point with him.
Beyond James Conner. When James Conner gets hurt.
Exactly. And this is James Conner's last year anyways. So with him going out this season, they're going to upload him heavily. And as we saw last year with James Conner and the year prior,
every year he can't handle he's never played a full season. He's never played a full season ever.
Yeah.
This is like perfect. I love this spot for Benson. I've talked about it when we did the draft recap. I absolutely love this spot. Like, he's not going to be forced into any real heavy role. I think here it is typically where he goes. Right, he's in that full cluster of shit.
Right around
the good shit, like the fun shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll leave this into my next pick because I have famously disliked this player, but
here we are.
We're at this point. We're at the 203, and I think this is where a decent range for Nix to go. He's a starter. Like, we'll joke about Zach Wilson as him being the starter there, but let's honestly be honest.
Are we?
I know I'm not, but for the fans of Bo Nix out there, for all 12 of them plus Sean Payton.
Hey, I am one.
He'll get the first. He'll get the first crack at it at the very least. They still have Javonte Williams there at the running back. They still have Tim Patrick. They still have. They drafted a Mims. They drafted Troy Franklin. They still have Cortland Sutton. They still have Greg Dulcich. Whenever those guys are actually fucking healthy, because I feel like every single one of those players, besides Worthy, because he has to play in the NFL, has gotten hurt and missed multiple games. So Sean Payton also has a very QB friendly offense, and the AFC West is going to have a lot of throwing in it. There's going to be a lot of games in where the Broncos, even with a good defense, can find themselves behind. And you don't have a smart, you don't have a veteran quarterback like Wilson that can kind of not make the mistakes where Nix is going to. So there's a lot of garbage time potentially in his future. I don't love this pick, but weighing out being Ron. I'm running quarterbacks a lot. At some point, you also have to weigh the upside and weigh the knowledge of knowing that there's a good chance that Nix will probably pay off on this ADP. And if you don't believe in him, as soon as he has a couple good game stretch, as soon as he throws for 4 touchdowns against the Falcons, trade him. Looking at you, Will
Yep.
Levis.
Okay. So we're coming back to me, and Nix is the only one that's really, Nix Benson off the board. So we're back here in wide receiver land and in Cincinnati land, right? So, got to break this down as I work through it. So again, looking at wide receivers, Xavier Leggett has the best athletic profile of the guys that I would have up in this tier. Absolutely destroyed the combine. Late breakout, but age 22, 1,200 yards after really doing nothing the first couple seasons at South Carolina. So, and he landed on the Panthers, which doesn't have a lot of help around him, and we don't know if Bryce Young is a bust or the team's a bust, and it's kind of a shit show for infrastructure. Jalen Polk lands on a rebuilding Patriots team, not nearly as good athletically. Again, but age 21 breakout season, but a little bit more productive the first couple of years. The other guy that is on a team where there's a need, I guess, is Keon Coleman, who lands to the Bills, who got rid of everybody, but that's a really uninspiring athletic profile to me for Keon Coleman. Also without a ton of productivity. So, Ben Sinnott in tight end premium is a guy that I really, really like here. He lands on a team with a fresh quarterback with absolutely some help around him with Terry McLaurin, but still has the opportunity to be the second best option. Zach Ertz is there to take a little pressure off of them and help mentor him early. It is tight end premium. And this guy had a lot of things that I liked. And as far as things that I'm, if I'm wanting to be sure that I'm getting a piece here that I like and at a position that's a little bit more scarce, I think this is where I'm going to pull the trigger on Benson.
Ooh.
Early?
No, if you weren't going to do it, I was going to do it on the next pick anyways. So
This is right. This is pretty much the range, maybe a little early for what I've seen in mocks, but it's like, again, it's within relative range of where, this massive tier kind of falls. This is a big tier
It is.
of like multi-position tier. This is massive. Just a lot of direction you can go from like the end of the from the end of the first at this point. So,
All right. Ryan,
yeah,
on
that's
to
a
you.
tough one.
It is a tough one. This is a tough area.
Yeah, I'm glad I knocked it down to 3 rounds now that we're talking about it, because all of a sudden I'm just like getting depressed here. I don't know what
always
to
knock
do.
it down to 2 rounds. You never know.
All right, and we're done after this pick.
Wait a minute. Wait a second.
His show.
Wait a minute. Yeah, exactly.
and
It
that's-
is,
and
it
that's-
is your show. We'll see you guys next time. Thanks.
So 205. I mean, there's many ways to go here. I mean, and as Hopper said, wide receivers heavy. Benson's now gone, and looking at tight end, I'm not going anywhere near who I have as my tight end 3, which is Ja'Tavion Sanders. This early in a draft, you're looking at wide receivers like we already said, Troy Franklin. You're looking at another running back, Blake Corum. His opportunities with being behind Kyron Williams. You have Malachi Corley, who is looking to be the number 2 behind Garrett Wilson right now. As Hopper already said about Jalen Polk, he's in a rebuild offense. One wide receiver we haven't mentioned though is the Indianapolis Colts guy, Andai Mitchell, who looks to be thrown in the wide receiver 2 position, who is also basically being thrown into that Alec Pierce role. So, Alec Pierce didn't work this time, so they draft Alec Pierce again. Hopefully that it works this time. But here, I'm going to go, in my mind, what I think is safe, because I feel like it's best player available too, where I feel like his upside is better than most. And I'm going to go with Keenan Coleman here for the Buffalo Bills. You got no Stephon Diggs. You got no Gabe Davis. You have the addition of Curtis Samuel, and you're pairing him up with Khalil Shakir. So what's Josh Allen going to do? probably give Keelan Coleman a bunch of jump balls because that's what he's very good at. And many, including myself, saw Buffalo taking a wide receiver in the first round, and they just kept trading down, and then they finally take their first one at the very beginning of the second round. So either they were very high on Coleman and figured, and they knew they could get him by trading down, but without a doubt, they drafted a talented wide receiver because that's what they need because they have nothing there in Buffalo. So opportunity, the shares, I'm gonna go with Coleman on this pick.
It's hard
I'm
to-
so intrigued to see what his role is going to be in Buffalo to start.
I am
like-
intrigued to see the role, and I don't know how it's gonna play, but like you said, you're taking what you believe in here, and I do think it's a better pick than Adonai Mitchell, at least, who's
That is definitely true.
Yes.
Mitchell's spot is so, oh man,
it's so and you
could
said,
not have been
you
worse.
said
for
wide receiver
fantasy.
too. I think he's a 3 on a low volume offense with Downs and Pittman both there.
I think he definitely starts as a 3. He's still got to beat out
At
Pierce.
least, and
Like,
Doolin.
Maybe he plays special teams. So we're in this range where like it's like the disappointing, like the guys that you don't love, but they got good draft capital. Guys that you're like, oh man, there's so many holes potentially in their profile, but the NFL told us they really liked him. Teams bought into him. You have an entire team and coaching staff that basically told the world that they were going to take him at pick 33, then traded up one pick to take him at pick 32. That's Xavier Leggett. Look,
Yeah.
a fifth-year breakout. He's the quarterback converted to wide receiver on not a great offense. It took him a bit to get going, right? You have to relearn pretty much how to play football, right? You're gonna know the routes and the play, but we can't learn how to actually run the routes. Little older, right? There's gonna be growing pains, but you have a very old Adam Thielen. You have a totally show favorite Deontay Johnson. You have a reworked offense. You have a new running back. You have a crapshoot at tight end. They love Leggett. From the sounds of it, right? They're going to want to do everything they possibly can to get this guy going. I don't know if he'll hit, but at some point, you have a first-round receiver that made it to the 206. Like, upside. He's going to get volume. Whether or not he turns that volume into actual production, we don't know. But he's almost just shoehorned in for at least 100 targets. Because there's no way that I see him off the field. Like, he should be on the field for most of these snaps. And you're just kind of hoping that, he can, pick it up quickly and learn. And if the coaching staff truly bought into the player that they liked. So I'll take Leggett here.
Nothing wrong
I'll
with
take my Xavier's.
Nothing wrong with that, and I think this is always going to be what was left of what I would consider to be this tier for me, and so I'm going Jalen Polk. No need to break it down because I broke it down the last couple picks, and not break down the pick, but to break down the competition, I broke it down the last couple picks, and if you were listening to the names I was saying, they all went. This is the last guy that's available and what I would consider a tier of opportunity there. Just turned 22. So he's not old, but he's not super young. Everything was all right on the athletic side. There was nothing that he really missed on. There's nothing that blows you away either. Big yard per reception guy. Last 3 years, 22.8, 16.9, 16.8. Last 2 seasons, he's got 107 balls, can't do math. 110 balls for 1,800-ish yards. So, in 15 touchdowns. So, he's been productive. Had a big year last year. Productive with Penix in the Washington offense. Good dominator. Just late breakout, but he checks boxes and he lands in New England where they're in desperate need of wide receiver help. Probably playing from behind. Has a quarterback with a big arm that can take advantage of some of that deep ball work. And, again, it's kind of the last guy that lands in this situation where there's a ton of opportunity there, and we're just hoping somebody jumps up and get it. It's not the first round draft capital that Nan just picked, but it is opportunity.
Like 3 picks after like a 2. Like there's
Yeah.
There's 4 straight receivers that were drafted at the end of the first into the second. So and he's a part of that 4.
Yep. No, he wasn't. You were Pearsall,
Was it not?
Leggett, Coleman, McConkey, and then there was 3 picks between McConkey.
Oh,
and
I
Polk.
thought Polk went instead of
No.
McConkey. I
But
thought it was
then
Polk over
after
McConkey.
Polk went with the wide receiver runs, you got a 15-player break before A.D. Mitchell finally went. So, he's considered in that same tier by the NFL. It would look like too, given where that tier break was.
Yeah.
So, all right. So we kick it off to Ryan now to decide where we're going after clearing that tier out, or do you still have somebody in that tier?
Oh man, dude, this is tough. Like looking at it, I'm kind of just like, I don't know where to go. What do I do here? And there's many ways to go. And I'm gonna go off the deep end here, I feel like is probably the best way to say it. Because I look at opportunity, like, we see all these receivers and see all their opportunities. And then I look at one other player and I see a potential opportunity that could actually supplant him. And he's a high draft pick going in the drafts right now. And a lot of people might hate it because they'll call me a homer for it.
Oh,
But I'm gonna go with
I'm not calling you a homer for this.
Blake Corum.
Okay, I'm going to call you a homer for that one. A little bit.
Why is that?
Well, you didn't say Roman Wilson, so I think you're fine.
Yeah.
I thought about Roman Wilson.
I hate it. I hate that landing
I
spot for
just
so
think
much.
you do have a tier of backs here. I think you're absolutely right, and I think that with as good as Kyron was, when people didn't expect that. I mean, I guess you could have a James Robinson type of a drop off, but I mean, the dude was just lighting the world on fire. It is third round draft capital on Blake Corum. I do expect he'll be a little bit more involved in the receiving game. The Rams clearly have a type here. It's just a set of backs leaves a bit to be desired. But can I tell you where else I would have went? Nah, it just depends on where you're gonna jump at, because I mean, you're looking guys like A.D. Mitchell, who's the 3. We just talked about him being the 3 on a not high volume team. Malachi Corley, who has some productivity, but he's a small school receiver that didn't test well athletically. It's on the Jets, who are one more injury away from being done with Rodgers, and who knows what the hell they're doing after that. You don't have a lot of sexy places to go at the wide receiver or tight end position. So, yeah, I mean, maybe we are in this tier of running backs. It just doesn't feel good for where we're at in the draft, but maybe we are in this tier of running backs. I'm just misjudging.
I mean, I see where Ryan's going to, right? Because he's out. Corum's obviously clear. He's the clear RB2, and Williams dealt with some minor injuries. Towards the mid to late last season. He's also small, right? Like, he should not be handling 300 plus touches in an offense. They need to find a balance. It's weird because why would you draft the same fucking running back when, if you're gonna go for a bruiser type, just take Braylon Allen a little bit later. Like, just wait. But they see a dynamic between the two, and if Kyron is to get hurt, as we love to say here, he's one injury. Blake's one injury away from being the main guy on an offense. We just saw Kyron dominated. So it's an upside, right? Like, there's not a lot of floor left, and true floor. So you start finding ways to find upside. Like, if Ryan would have left Corum dropped, I would have taken him here. So
exactly. So
for a lot of the same reasons,
flip-flopped.
and running backs are one of those teams where it's like, if you're going to get production from them throughout their career, it's generally going to be right in the beginning. And and just what Corum's done for his career, I think he falls into that role where if Williams gets hurt, or if for whatever reason Williams just starts to kind of slow down I think Corum can step into that spot and maybe give you a couple years at most. But I'll take for my 209 pick, I'll take probably the highest upside receiver left, at least in my opinion, and one of the higher receivers left. And I think he would have definitely been a higher draft pick had the off the field issues not kind of take over. Landed on a team that has a lot of questions post this season. We talked about Pearsall and his landing spot with the Niners and kind of what that offense is going to look like in 25. The Bengals are going to look maybe potentially different. Tyler Boyd's gone. They don't really have a running backfield. They don't have a lot of tight ends. Jermaine Burton steps into the number 3 role. Not really a slot guy. Didn't really handle slot. He's a big play guy, though. And if Higgins decides to leave after the season, which by all accounts, I think is going to potentially happen, you got Burton and Chase, and you got Burton being able to learn and lean into this backcourt. Sorry. Well, basketball's on mine.
Hey.
Lead into this really good wide receiver core. I wasn't completely in love with them during his time in Bama, but there's a lot of there's a lot of upside, and within the right coaching staff with the right situation, I think he could hit that ceiling and take the offense. You take the opportunity that's starting to kind of poke his holes and show. I think Burton's a really good pick at this spot, and that cost is good in comparison. It's probably a little higher for I think he starts to go, but not too much.
No, because if you didn't take him here, I was going to take him if Hopper was going to pass up on him. So
No, and
that's the new show phrase right there.
He's a guy that I was paying attention to here as well for that reason. You're looking for where's maybe not that one opportunity, but that 2 opportunity going to show up at. And you're right, he did slip a bit. We talked about it extensively, draft recap and pre-draft, about the talent being weighed with the off-field issues. So we're at the back end of the second round. A couple things I'm looking at here. I'm looking at the other running backs that I have in that Corum tier, and there are 4 guys that I also have there that we can start playing with, either from one injury away or succession planning or grabbing usage there. They also have receiving upside, and really you're looking for explosiveness and receiving upside here. There's another guy or 2 that I think may not be 1s, but have the option to be 2s and whatever an offense could be, and have some things to like. And then, it'll sound gross because the way this has been fitted on, but you could also start potentially thinking Michael Penix here. And it's a first-round quarterback. The Falcons are going to play a top 10 pick at some point, whether that's this year or whether that's 2 years from now when Cousins has no more guaranteed money left on his deal and they decide to roll out of that and try to years from now, Penix will see the field for Atlanta at some point as a first-round pick. Doesn't feel great. You're not probably getting your 1 productivity out of that. He may ultimately be a trade piece for you. So I'm going to fall off of that because I do think there are players that have more immediate and potentially long-term impact than the fact that we know Penix will see the field and may be a complete and total bust. But you got to start thinking about it here. Running back wise, there's a guy here that I really like that may just be a get your guy, and I think that's the route I'm going to go. I'm going to go ahead and take Jalen Wright, actually, is my next pick in the next running back off the I like the situation there a little bit more than I might like Marshawn Lloyd landing behind Josh Jacobs in Green Bay. We know that Miami had some banged up backs in Achane and Mostert. Mostert's not exactly healthy, a model of health throughout his career, and Wright's cut from the same mold that both Achane and Mostert are, where he's just got that straight line track speed that we've seen be incredibly explosive in a Miami offense. Furthermore, he's shown the ability to be productive on absolutely not a full workload worth of carries. This is a guy who cleared 1,000 yards last season and 800 the year before on less than 150 carries. That's really, really good productivity. And last year, he worked in some receiving work. There's definitely some holes in his game. He's ultimately explosive on a team where, one injury at least gets him into the rotation, and he's been hyper explosive when he's been in rotation. He doesn't need a lot of carries to hit home runs. So I'm going to go Jalen Wright here, but it's close between him and a few other guys.
It's tough when it comes to running backs here at this point because we're all kind of just hoping for the best. One injury away, and the Miami backfield has just been injured in general. I mean, I think they have like 4 or 5 running backs all start last year.
Yeah, they're all old 49ers backs
49ers.
besides Achane.
Yeah.
Achane couldn't even stay healthy though.
And
he was missed time.
He was hurt for most of the season.
Yeah. But when he played, he dominated.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we're up here to 211. And this is where I'm going to end the fall of a certain player because if you're usually at the 211, it's because you have a good team already as it is. And here, this is going to stop the fall of Michael Penix Jr.
If you weren't going to do it, I was going to do it. And I was
So-
very
so-
sad.
so,
It's literally it's been the same reason why Hopper
on the
mentioned
same
it.
page at this range at the back end of the second of all right, it's a top 10 pick. You kind of got to
That's
go
been
there.
the biggest talking point is where the fuck do you take him? And this has been typically the range. I've seen him as early as in a 14 team league. I saw him go at like pick 13. I was like, what?
I could,
okay.
you know what? I could see.
I mean,
that.
like the two-
but I
like the
see it though
201
because his teams.
Because
It's
in our
again,
16 team league. If I was sitting with a pick in the
mid
112
yeah,
to 16
just-
range, I would probably go into first maybe just because of how hard it is to get quarterbacks in that.
Yeah, it's there's obvious different scenarios in which it happens, but yeah, this one's it's weird. Sorry, go ahead, Ryan.
I mean, I love his upside. I mean, what sucks is that, Kirk Cousins signed a 4-year deal, but you look at Kirk Cousins' deal, it's actually really a 2-year deal. But with that being said, all you really need is Penix to go on the field and throw anything to have a good game. You got a trade piece. Here at this point, you're basically drafting him to throw him on your taxi squad because he's pretty much useless. He won't see any time this year at all. He might see any time next year. And with it looking overall, I mean, you got Bijan Robinson, Drake London, Kyle Pitts. Why did they not go with something that they needed, a defensive lineman? Why did they go quarterback? I still can't figure this part out.
Literally any other position would have been 100 times better. Like,
Anything.
they could have gone
The-
Brock Bowers to pair with Kyle Pitts. People would have been pissed, but it would have been 100% better than the Penix at 8.
I mean, I want to see teams drafting double tight ends, like, seeing like Brock Bowers go as early as he did. It's like, that's going to be run more 12 personnel out on the field. But it's like, people are looking at this pick as like, a Jordan Love type of pick. I'm like, Jordan Love was in the 20s. This was a top 10 pick. This is a higher dollar pick. Quit comparing to Jordan Love. This is not a Jordan Love pick.
He's also
This
3
is-
years older than Love when Love was drafted. So
Yeah, this is a pick where what the fuck are the goddamn Atlanta Falcons doing? But you're gonna grab Penix here. You're gonna hold on to him. You hope he has a good game. You got a good trade piece. That's how I look at him. He's a trade piece, or in your bigger team leagues, your 14, 16 team, you're looking for future upside because the quarterback position is just a hard one to get there.
Mm-hmm.
I fucking hate this spot. Last pick of the second round, and things are getting
Really dire.
it's gross. Like
is.
it's
We are
it's not
in
the worst.
full on gross territory.
I'm gonna go with the guy that oddly enough, I got both these guys in the third round in a different league. In a 12-team super flex set in premium league, I got both these guys in the early the mid third round, which was a steal. Hopper, I think he took Polk, I think at the range, I think at his highest range. I'm gonna take Javon Baker, the other New England wide receiver, top of the 4th round that they took, that I'm also a fan of. I've liked more than Polk. The fact that both have been slipping primarily in rookie drafts is because of the landing spot. I think there's a lot of opportunity here. Right now, it's Bourne. Was it something Darius Douglas, whoever the fuck the number 2 is, And
Demario
then,
Douglas.
and then there are 2 drafted receivers in Polk and Baker. And this team just needs an injection of youth and just something, some sort of spark. And with Polk and Baker, I think being able to play off of each other and fit the roles that they're going to be, playing. I'll take the receiver that I like a bit more. Both of them are decent values in most drafts, but I think his opportunity to see the field year one, it's pretty good, just given Boris coming off of his ACL tear, and there just really isn't a whole lot of true competition for targets. And if this team's going to suck by midseason, be one of the worst teams, you're going to start seeing a little more, I think, you thrown out there to see what they got. I don't know if neither of these guys are the future wide receiver 1 or 2 of this offense, but I'll take a shot in hopes that May is some sort of shroud and can take a pretty rough roster and make fucking gold out of it.
All right. I like really nothing here. Like I would just I don't know. I don't like anything here.
Let's do a beer review then while we think about it.
Okay.
It's good. That's actually a good call. We can fly through these
Beer
six picks.
review.
Dan, what you got?
Again, I am drinking Pachanga. This is a Mexican lager from Sun King Brewery. Sun King is out of Indianapolis, Indiana. This is a very traditional, lightly breaded, dry finish, clean throughout. Very light. Obviously, your traditional Mexican lagers or lagers that come from Mexico in Corona and Dos Equis. This is outdoors, garage beer, lawnmower beer, whatever you say or want. This is a craft version of a real, classic domestic style. And it's tasty. Very much is.
Hopper?
Okay. So good West Coast IPAs are hard to come by, and good West Coast Imperial IPAs are even harder to come by. It's got a good malty backbone, nice and caramely, sweetness there. Alcohol notes are not harsh at all at 9%. It just gives you a bit of floral back into it. Piney, a little bit of tropical, and a bit of citrus on the hops. There's a reason that Dogfish Head IPAs are fantastic. West Coast are a dying breed. It's a great beer. 90 minutes of great beer. Befitting of your exit.
Fantastic.
To you, Ryan.
And I said at Equilibrium Brewing Rock Fantasy, which is Double India Pale Ale. Jeez, I can't speak right now. It's called Beer Balanced by Science. Comes at 7.5%. And it's just like
all beer is balanced by science. That's literally what beer is science. Sorry, continue.
That's okay. And it went down like, dude, I don't know, like it sucks with like IPAs. It's like they all start tasting the same, and that's why I like them so much, because all their hops aren't that much like different, and like the flavor ain't much different. Some of them have like a little bit more of a fruitier taste. This one had like a bit of a drier taste to it, which kind of gave it like a nice, more dry taste with a little bit of fruity of a background to it, if that makes sense at all.
Yeah, like a brewed IPA. Yeah.
Yeah.
New Zealand hops.
Yeah. I don't know what hops are even in this, but yeah, that's kind of that's what it gave me when I was drinking it. Now it's all gone.
I wish more breweries would put the hops on their bill.
Put
the hop billing on the cans, but it's not super common.
Oof.
Right.
All right, Chris.
Round 3.
301 here.
You can just talk quick about them.
Yeah, we can. And so I'm looking at 2 backs and a tight end here. It's terrible. There's really nothing to like here. You know what? Screw it. There's a wide receiver I'm looking at here too. And I'm gonna say F it with this one. Third round pick. Lands in a spot where I do think there's wide receiver opportunity. And I think wide receivers at this point give you the most upside. There's a couple backs I was considering, but when I was looking at the contracts of the people that are ahead of them, I mean, you're 2 to 4 years from them, from guys that could be bell cows not being on those teams. So that's a really tough one to swallow. Tight end premium, so I started looking that direction again, but ultimately, I'm taking Luke McCaffrey.
Oh,
Again, it's probably a bit of a reach. There are other receivers here that you can go with, but the athletic profile is very, very solid. I like receivers that tend to have good agility scores, even if the 40s are a little bit mediocre as well. That's what led me to guys like Cooper Kupp. That's what we've seen guys like Tyler Lockett succeed with. Julian Edelman's, Wes Welker's of the world. McCaffrey's a bit bigger than them at 6'2", 200 pounds, but if you play him into a big slot, given what the athleticism says, or even outside, he can carve out a role on a team that really hasn't had anybody carve out a role as the 2, right? We talked about Vincent not coming in as a tight end, potentially being a 2 here, but tight ends take a bit to catch on. Zach Ertz is 33. Terry McLaurin is probably pretty solidified. Jahan Dotson hasn't been able to grab onto anything the last 2 years. He's had some good games, but he was a disappointment for a lot of people last year. So the 2 spot in Washington is open with the new quarterback as they go to rebuild. The third round investment and a guy with a good athletic profile, close to 1,000 yards last season, but 13 touchdowns. So you've got red zone ability there and touchdown ability there. So, and just drafting opportunity from a lot of things that I don't really like on a profile that's been successful in the past. 39.5% college dominator too isn't bad.
what was this dominator rating?
39.5.
Yeah, that's not bad at all. Yeah.
30%
All right,
target
302.
share at Rice. So anyway,
302, man. We're really starting to dig here. And just like Hopper said, you're looking at the whole board. I look at quarterback or not quarterbacks, running backs. I'm out on them. I'm looking at tight end. Not really. Wide receiver feels like the best strength here, and seemed like we're Luke McCaffrey when I feel like that was a little bit early, but I can see the justification behind it. But here this time, I think I'm gonna make the pick that Hopper thought I was really gonna pick the last round, and I'm gonna go with Pittsburgh wide receiver Roman Wilson.
yeah,
Homer!
I was considering that too in the early third because again, it's another situation where you haven't really had a 2 emerge and there's opportunity there. It's almost the same argument.
It is.
Yep, exactly. Yeah,
And it's third round and not second round costs. Late second
And-
even.
and I look at his player profiler. His best comparison player is Stephon Diggs. So if I'm able to draft the next Stephon Diggs here at the 302, I'll take that any day of the week.
Yep.
All right. I'm gonna let the fall stop. I'm gonna get the most unsexy fucking quarterback wide receiver stack I think I would ever truly want, because I really don't care about either, but I think there's still upside with Troy Franklin in what
Yeah.
could be a kind of a wide receiver
Is it really a
ambiguous.
fall? The 2 guys that Ryan and I were drafted ahead of him by the NFL too. So is it really a fall?
Yeah. But I think more so, I think people are still hanging up on what Franklin was, I think, pre-draft to where he actually was drafted. Range wise, I think Roman typically goes ahead of Franklin, which is, I think, fine. Like I said, this third round, right? You start aiming for more potential, hopefully, and Franklin's speeds, like very, very productive at Oregon. Gimmicky offense that got him open, but either way, gets paired with the quarterback that got him the ball. I don't know how much that actually matters, depending on how everything shakes out. But a wide receiver room that is kind of desperate for some playmaking in it. Mims hasn't really, wasn't given a bunch of opportunity last year. Judy's gone. Patrick is probably hurt. at this moment because he's always hurt. Sutton is. We'll see.
Patrick actually is hurt at this moment. By the way,
my point proven. I think Franklin has the opportunity to start early, and whether or not he hits, who the fuck knows. But at this point, if I can get something early on that can maybe give me some trade chip if he starts to show something, so I'll take the low risk here.
all right. Again, same or same three backs that I have are still there, kind of in that tier. There's a tight end that I'm drooling over that I can probably wait on. I think I got a couple more picks in this draft. 4, 7, and 10, I think. So a couple more picks in this draft for that. Wide receiver side, I think we just cleared out another tier there. I think there's 2 guys that have high draft capital that are falling pretty considerably, but I don't know that they're just situations that I want to jump at either. This is a tough spot. I'm probably going to go back up to where there's a little bit of draft capital here and a guy that's 1 injury away, and I'm going to take Marshawn Lloyd. I don't love anything about it, honestly. This is a pick that Lloyd is not a guy that I like. I think I'm pretty sure I called him like the great value version of a great value version of a player. I'm not a fan of his at all. I do know that being 1 injury away and having some investment put in you and immediately being listed ahead of A.J. Dillon on the depth chart, tells you a little bit about what a team thinks of you, and that can't be totally ignored. I hope I'm not in this position to do this in a real draft. The other thing with the contract to Josh Jacobs is they technically do have an out after 1 year for $9 million in dead cap. But they can pretty much go year to year after the first year of his contract with whatever they want. I could also potentially run 4 more years if he's productive and they like what they're getting out of him, which is a complete block. So, there's risk here, with limited upside. I don't love this, but there's also some signs that, he may get better than just a little bit better than just change of pace work. So got to go there. Feels bad, man. Feels bad.
This whole third round starting to feel bad. I feel bad for everyone in here that has third round picks. It's almost like I almost want to trade all of them up just to say, yeah, I don't have it anymore. All right, so here we're out 305. We're almost to the halfway point, Dan. Almost there.
We're almost there.
And I'm actually surprised that this player sat there longer because I was going to take him even in the second round. I thought about doing it at the end of the second. But with the way things have been going, I just kind of see if I could get him to fall. And he has fall. And I'm going with New York Jets wide receiver, Malachi Corley.
Yeah,
Garrett Wilson, I would say Garrett Wilson and Mike Williams, need a nice slot receiver. Corley fits that mold perfectly. Gives Aaron Rodgers another perfect weapon. Possibility. I mean, Mike Williams come off a torn ACL. We know how MetLife Field is. It's where needs go to die. And if he can't make it last out west, what makes us think that Mike Williams can do out east here? So getting Corley, he could actually be the number 2 receiver on that offense behind a Garrett Wilson. So easily he could be pushing 100 targets. It's electric. He's got electric hands, electric with the ball, dynamic playmaker, and hopefully gets his offense going one step forward too.
I mean, it's good value on him. I think the reason he fell this far is because, again, you don't know what you got left in Rodgers. The athletic workout metrics were not good. It's a small school player that did produce and did dominate at a small school level. Look, I can't hate it in the third round. I wouldn't have done it a round earlier. But in the third round, yeah, that's totally fine.
All right, I'm not gonna keep beating the dead horse about what's available in terms of excitement, but I want to go with the who I actually thought was the number 2 wide receiver in Washington. I'm gonna go with Jalen McMillan. Um, Polk should definitely be drafted over him. Polk's opportunity to get on the field early on, it's a lot more clear. But as McMillan, obviously Polk was taken a round and a half later before McMillan went, but McMillan still got day 2 draft capital. Very firm set at the top though with Tampa Bay. Obviously, Chris Godwin, Mike Evans are your 1 and 2. Bucks like what they got out of Trey Palmer, but Trey Palmer was a 6th-round pick. McMillan was able to at least find some success in Washington before his injuries came. He actually broke out, hit the 1,000 yards before Polk was able to. It took a more of a McMillan injury to get Polk going there. But either way, it may take a bit here. It may be a little bit what Chris Godwin kind of had to deal with before he broke out in his 3rd year with Tampa Bay. But I like the skill set of McMillan. I think he could fit in nicely as a replacement to Godwin if they decide to move on from him next year or in the next couple of years. And if he could find himself maybe starting if he takes over Trey Palmer's spot. Improved offense that we saw from last year. Yes, they lost a bunch of defense or a bunch of the coaching pieces on offense, but kind of like what the Bucks are building out there. And I like this pick when they made it at the time.
All right. Hard to argue with that, I guess.
Mid 3rd round picks, hard to argue about really any of these.
It really is.
Honestly.
I'm going back a second. Give me a minute. See what I didn't like about somebody. It seems like I should have liked. Because I didn't watch the film. That would explain why I didn't like it. All right. I'm going tight end. I'll say that because there's 2 tight ends here that I think deserve to be drafted. I won't snipe Ryan because I'm, sure he'll probably go this route before the end of the draft too. He already said it was 3 is, so I just want to make sure they both get talked about. I'm gonna go with Theo Johnson. So 4th round draft capital, 6 spots behind Ryan. No pressure to actually make this pick, but the guy that you mentioned earlier, in Jatavian Sanders, 6 rounds behind him. Look, the fact is it's a wide open receiving core on a team that just had Darren Waller retire, for a guy that is 6'6", 260 and absolutely killed in his combine workouts. Not a lot of productivity in the receiving game at college. That's okay for tight ends. It's taking a shot on a hyper athletic tight end that has some draft capital behind him in a position of opportunity, with exceptional size as well.
Yeah, I love how that is. I didn't think you were actually going to take him. I thought you were actually going to go Jatavian Sanders there.
No, I thought about it, but honestly, if the Waller did decide to retire, right? Or is he still?
It's not. So he did, but
It's
it's not been official
Not
yet.
official yet. Okay. And then,
but he did say he was going to.
the Giants thought so much about Daniel Bellinger that they brought in Waller. So, yeah. I might have went Sanders there also, Ryan, but since you mentioned interest, I just figured I'd go with the other guy who, if I don't take him, may not go, and I think deserves to be talked about.
No, it's okay because I'm not taking him right now anyways.
It is a show after all, so.
Yeah, we're going to have fun with this. So 308. When I hit the 3rd round, usually in general, this is usually where I like to kind of throw darts at players where I think they have opportunity to become something as a running back. And earlier, I took Malachi Corley and Roman Wilson, so it kind of throws off what I'm just saying. But if I need running backs, I look at kind of like position and what's ahead of them. And looking at one player, I see Javonte Williams, being injury riddled. So here, this is where I feel like Audric Estime is a good pick to take as a dart throw. yeah, he was a 5th-round pick. But you look at his running style, yeah, he was slow, but is it just me or do I see CJ Anderson there in a way? You see like a freaking bowling ball that can freaking move. And yeah, he's slow. He's not known as much of a pass catcher, but he can definitely make a dent in this Broncos backfield. And surprisingly, can actually be a true threat to Javonte Williams, in my opinion.
All right.
I don't really see that, but if it is, then I think Javonte Williams is hurt or he's just not very good. But
Yeah,
Um,
it could be either, but yeah.
I mean, they also ran 3 running backs last year with Javonte healthy. So who the fuck knows what Payton really wants to do there? He ran 3 backs, at points in his New Orleans times, even when he had Ingram and Kamara. So like that's me. Like he's big enough and bowling ball enough you could actually get the goal line carries, and he's very durable. So he doesn't need to catch passes if the Broncos offense starts scoring points. I'm gonna go. We're doing a little running back run here because why the fuck not? I'm gonna go with I think the most talked about day 3 running back pick. And for decent reasons in a very kind of wide open Chargers backfield. Fidel kind of just slides in as a 5'8" smaller guy, right? There's a lot of 5'8" guys in this class. Jesus Christ, it's a class of short kings. Very stocky, productive at Troy. And the guys ahead of him, Gus Edwards has always been just a guy, but he's in a good offense, but he's never looked special at all. Dobbins is obviously the upside for the team if he can remain and stay healthy, but that just hasn't been shown. And I think everyone on the show agrees, especially Hopper will, is Isaiah Spiller is not going to be a fucking person and could possibly be off this team because of this pick. So there's a lot of swings here. There's no guarantee that Fidel even makes a team. Could be practice squad, may not even matter. But I'll take the opportunity. He's got a good athletic profile, and he was a workhorse for a Troy team. But 6th-round pick, obviously run heavy offense with Harbaugh and with Greg Roman. Fidel gets that opportunity. I think you could see him snatch it on a team that's going to run the football a bunch.
All
I
right.
almost actually took him there too instead.
I thought you were going to, man.
I thought about it.
As soon as you said Denver, I'm like, oh, thank God.
It was between him. Yeah, it was between him and Estime.
3 more picks. Last picks for all of us.
Yay!
Yay. Yeah. All right. Well, again, not left with a lot of sexiness here. All right, you got 4th-round backs, Will Shipley, and he was kind of blocked by Saquon for at least the next 2 years, barring injury. Bucky Irving, who I mentioned being a solid pass catcher that could actually take a little bit of that from Rashad White if he's efficient, but has some holes in his game. Rasheen Ali is somewhat interesting there. Actually, wait a second. Completely someone that I know Ryan likes? It might be. Definitely. Okay. What the hell?
If you pick him, I'd be mad.
Will ya? You know who I'm talking about?
No.
Do it. We need a little sniping. It's been kind of chummy in here.
All right, I'm gonna go with Tyrone Tracy.
Damn it! Yes, that was what I wanted.
Finally.
I remember.
Damn it.
So, a little strategy note. I remember Ryan mentioning liking him, but again, it's another guy that it feels ugly going 2 Giants back to back with my picks, I guess.
I think I have all the Giants done. Neighbors.
It's another guy that lands well. I mean, what's in front of him on the depth chart is Devin Singletary, who's been good the last 2 seasons. I'm not taking that away from him, but not blocking anybody per se. Eric Gray is not anything. There's not really anything pushing behind him either. It's not like he got exceptional draft capital. He didn't. He was the back end of the 5th round, but athletic profiles fine. Productivity profiles a little less than fine, but it's opportunity. It's an older back, so you're gonna see what you got in him quick. He's already upwards of 24 years old, but he's got decent size. I don't know. It's a backfield where it's anybody's ball game. So give me that dart throw in the late third. A couple other guys I would consider there that maybe have more long-term value but could be buried. This has the opportunity to be a surprise again, just because there's not a lot in front of him or behind him. Very desolate in the Giants' backfield.
Yeah, that was gonna be my pick, so that's okay. That's why I always make backup plans for all my backup plans. Because if I don't have a backup plan, then I have nothing to talk about, and then I sit here and just jibber jabber until I get my backup plan together.
That's what I think he's doing, guys.
Yeah, which I did. So the 11th pick, my final pick here, I'm doing it once again. I'm gonna throw a dart. I'm going running back. Not gonna lie, because at this point, the running back is the golden ticket. The wide receivers, I feel, are so hit and miss, and the running backs, you're like, it's one opportunity away. And with this one, I'm going with Buffalo's running back, Ray Davis.
I thought about him.
I like how we're
He is
all
the backup. I didn't
taking
realize he's the backup
just
there.
absolutely tanked running backs instead of Adonai Mitchell.
Oh, don't worry, he's going next.
Is he?
Yes.
Second
'Cause
round
I
receiver.
completely forgot about him.
Second round
I'm not
receiver.
gonna lie.
There's
I would have taken him over a couple guys I think I picked by accident, but I completely forgot about him.
I just want
Go
to see
ahead,
how far
Ryan.
he can fall.
I talk about Ray Davis, Ryan.
I mean, a perfect complementary piece to being, behind James Cook. James Cook just kind of struggled in short yards, and they kept bringing in, what the hell was his name? Murray,
Latavius Murray.
Latavius Murray. Yeah.
He's off the team now. Yeah.
And then they had Leonard Fournette come in, and he didn't do anything ever.
Dude, I
So-
completely forgot about that move too. I don't think he even played. Like
No,
maybe
he
like
was just on the
like
team.
3
Just waiting.
snaps
forgot
or
he
something.
was
Yeah, he
there.
barely fucking played.
And then they had another guy, something Johnson, and I can't remember him, but they were rotating them all in. And Ray Davis, yes, he's a little bit on the older side, 24-year-old rookie running back, but he has the power. He can bust through the goal line. He can be a touchdown machine if they need it. It can help Josh Allen, and he's got sneaky good speed and quickness. So taking it here at 311, why not?
Yeah, why not? Again, one injury away. Bowling ball
Not even
against
that. It's just basically one
short cane.
complimentary
I mean,
piece
like
away.
he's like if he starts off and looks strong, like he might be the Thunder to to Cook's Lightning, Cook smaller back, but
He's got wheels.
if the Bills, because I believe this is a season where Josh Allen's extension, kicks in, right? And you can't keep relying on him taking unnecessary hits. So you get a bigger back like Davis in there, maybe you start to see a little bit less, goal line, goal and goal work from Allen. Like you may see some Davis, touchdowns, and all of a sudden he becomes relevant. But I'll stop this side of Adonai Mitchell. Again, I kind of forgot that I thought Ryan had taken him for some reason, so I just kind of forgot about him. Second round pick, hyper athletic, great size. You have, was it the GM, come out and just offend them and just shit on people, writing bad articles about them and hiding behind just hiding in the shadows about it. I don't know if Mitchell is going to see the field early. I do think he's better than Pierce. Is he better than Downs enough to get on the field in wide receiver 2 sets? I would think so, but we'll see. I wasn't the biggest fan of his overall profile. I don't particularly love receivers that A, that don't break out, or B, can't really post any significant of a dominator rating. But Mitchell is oozing with upside. And if I can take a dart throw on this type of player, and hopefully, Richardson can kind of buck the trend of hyper mobile quarterbacks who don't have a lot of volume to their name. Mitchell's got some big play. Robinson's got the big arm that can utilize the speed that Mitchell presents if they decide to use him as the true Pierce role, as a third quadrant guy. You're just kind of hoping for 1 or 2 big weeks, and you can find the person that loved them that will probably going to take him in the first round had he gone in the first round in the NFL draft. So I think 312 at Adonai Mitchell is completely fair to take. So
Yeah. I mean, I like his profile and everything, like how everything looked. But if you look at some of his game tape, it looked like he did take plays off, or he didn't go like
absolutely,
full speed.
yeah.
And that's what kind of like brought me down on him. I'm like, I don't know, like if he's gonna do this in the NFL, or if he's doing it right now in college, you know he's gonna do it in the NFL. And how long is
If
that
he's
gonna
frustrated
last?
with Quinn Ewers, there's gonna be some frustrating moments with Anthony Richardson.
For sure.
Like,
Exactly.
that offense also funnels through a target hog and target mantra in Pittman. Like, he's not competing with Worthy, who's also not a target hog himself. So
So they throw like temper tantrums like LeBron James does on the basketball court, you know?
he
Can't do
just
that.
he just kind of just doesn't look engaged, right? If it's not on his side of the if he like, I think you have to instill into him wanting to block and wanting to, wanting to operate in that third quadrant, knowing that you're not going to get the football because it helps the team move the ball down the field because it puts stress on on the secondary, and in hopes that he shows up when his number is called. But we'll see.
All right, and that wraps up the third round. So third round, 101 to the 112, we have Flute McCaffrey, Roman Wilson, Troy Franklin, Marshall Lloyd at 304. We got Malachi Corley, Jalen McMillan, Theo Johnson at 307, Audric Estimé, Kamani Vidal, Tyrone Tracy at 310, Ray Davis, and wrapped it up with Adonai Mitchell. Or Adonai Mitchell.
God,
was
the
going with
fourth
Donnie, I don't
round
know.
of
AD Mitchell.
the first round, the fourth round of rookie drafts is going to suck, Dan. I was looking forward to a rookie draft until we did this. And fourth round of single quarterback, I am not looking forward to it now.
I will tell you this right now. Even in a single QB, you're going to see reaches. We don't obviously have the smartest of smart people. They're going to make some reaches. There's some names I guess you gotta mention here that's even left over. Spencer Rattler as a late dart throw. I think there's actual opportunity for him to maybe see the field if the Saints get off slow and Derek Carr is just not it. Please don't bank on it, but
Yeah,
it could happen. I think he has better opportunity of seeing the field before Penix does, and that's thanks, Atlanta. Thanks.
Probably the only
Thanks so much.
quarterback that's worth throwing out there. Running
He
back
is.
wise, I would shout out the undrafted Bucky Irving, fourth round. The fourth round picks of Bucky Irving and Will Shipley, Isaac Guerrero, and I guess to a
Dylan
lesser
Laub.
degree,
Yeah,
Braylon
Dylan Laub.
Allen, Dylan
Laub going
Laub, going to the Raiders in the sixth round. So there's
I'll give a little bit of love to Braylon Allen because
little
I think
bit.
he is
He's
one
he's
injury away,
probably one
but-
injury away. Rasheen Ali's a couple away, but he's an athletic
Or Isaiah
profile.
Davis.
Yeah, there's guys there that you can take dart throws on. We can just leave it that way. We don't have to name everybody in the class.
No,
which
no,
I
no,
think
no.
We just
We're
did.
good.
Yeah.
But there's dart throws there. Wide receiver side of it, yeah,
There's not much.
there's
left.
not much
It's-
left
It's
there.
slim pickings. It's
No.
been
It's
picked over
because
pretty
they're
heavily.
it's because they're lifting up this class. And then on the tight end side, I didn't hate Cade Stover, but obviously with Schultz still on the Texans, I think Eric All going to Cincinnati isn't terrible. Jatavian Sanders in Carolina. Tip Ryman, third round pick. Don't let that drive you off anything. Tip Ryman's a blocking tight end. So
He's
That'd
not
be a hell of a good
taking
one,
work.
too.
He's not taking work from
Not taking
McBride.
work from
It's
McBride.
okay.
So you're good there. All right. What's the show, Ryan? Any parting words?
Guys, thank you guys for this opportunity. You know, you'd be hanging out with you guys for the last 2 years. Quite enjoyed it. Feels like it went too fast now, but here we are at the end.
Here we are.
Bittersweet.
I know. Thank
Gonna
you.
miss you.
We still have 16 episodes left, though, so hang out with Dan and I as we ride this thing out for the next 4 months.
Absolutely.
See ya.
Yeah.
See you guys.